What up, everybody? You're now tuned into the true definition of a sports fanatic. I'm your host, Brandon Lampley, back today with another live stream. The boys are back in town. The Jaguars the veterans have officially reported to training camp. They're ready to go. So excited, man. So excited. And I have lost my co-host. Okay. Well, hopefully he comes back on. But man, we got talking Jags. Talking Jim Harbaugh today facing a 4-game suspension. Bronny James collapsed on the court. I think he went into cardiac arrest. Hold on. Let me pull the list out. I want to make sure, even though you guys can see it, but I'm gonna give it to you. Okay, yeah. Washington Commanders sold the team, and Dan Snyder, he is who we thought he was. FAMU shut down football operations over the weekend because of I'm gonna be nice. Stupidness. And Jaylen Brown got paid, and I don't know if I would have paid him that, but there he is, back once again. My co-host, Mr. John Reed. How are you feeling today, sir?
Feeling good, man. It's football season. Feeling alive and well, and smelling the fall in the air. I'm glad it's football season, yeah, man.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But first and foremost, we talking some Jags, and the Jags started training camp today. Of course, the boys are back in town. Everybody looks like they're good and ready to go. I saw Trayvon Walker. He posted, I think, a photo of him on Instagram, and he looks like he's been working out. He's been eating his Wheaties. So I don't physicality and conditioning and stamina, strength, and all of that. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think it's, the mental game and working on some moves. Andre Cisco looks yoked as well. He's going to look like he's going to knock some heads off as well. But the talk today is Trevor Lawrence came in on the NFL top 100 list at number 96. And I think it's awesome for him to be considered among the top 100 NFL players in the entire league. I think it's a great honor because it's voted by the players. Let you know what the players think of him. But the discourse is that Justin Fields was on the list too, but he wasn't listed in the 90 through 100. He wasn't listed. He wasn't on that list. So they're saying that he's going to come in higher than Trevor Lawrence. How could that be? Now, I'm not a Justin Fields hater. Justin Fields is Justin Fields. I think that I give him a bit of a mulligan because of the organization that he plays for. The Bears have been bad for a good little while. Coaching has been terrible. Player personnel has been terrible. Acquiring talent and keeping that talent and developing has not been good. And they are a storied franchise, so they haven't been through stretches like this. It's been a while since they've been through a stretch like this. But even with all that said, Justin Fields showed flashes here and there. But for him to be above Trevor on this list, I don't know. I mean, you guess you got to trust the players, but I don't know.
I don't trust that. regardless of where he may fall, I just think that Trevor should be higher than 90. I mean, let's just think about it. 96 is 95 players according to the NFL rankings, NFL Network rankings. 95 players better than Trevor Lawrence. I don't buy that, man.
Yeah.
And Justin Fields, I mean, he's a young quarterback, but I mean, I don't think that if you put his volume of work over 2 seasons and put Trevor's volume of work over his first 2 seasons, I don't think there's a comparison. Particularly, and I not to take nothing away from Justin Fields. I mean, I think the best is yet to come. But I really think, and it's not being no home cooking here, but I think that in reality, I think that Trevor should be at least top 60, not 96. I don't think there's 95 players better in that league than this young emerging quarterback. Particularly, I mean, you can't base everything on 1 year, but come on. I think that's got more to do with Jacksonville I've been listening to some of this talk radio, listening on more national than local. People got to be convinced, man. They're not convinced about Jacksonville. I mean, I don't know what it is, what it means, but on a national perspective, everybody in this country, national media is not convinced that the Jags is just going to roll in the AFC South and beat the hell out of the Titans and second AFC South title. I think there's some people still out there feel that the Titans, with the big sign of, I think there's still people out there think that they're a better franchise and got a better team than the Jags. Well, we'll see about that. But, I think these guys got the team that is, which they probably will. They're probably not saying what the motivation is for the Jags, but if I was them, I use that to their advantage because I've already, even local, heard talk already. Oh, yeah, Jags situation before back in 2007 to that 2018 season. But, the biggest difference from now to then was that they got a better coach and a better quarterback. But it's out there, we're still at that level where they, make a break, or show people that there can be longevity in winning. And that's to me, that's the biggest thing about this season. They gotta prove, they gotta show it, they gotta show that you can with this franchise. But that question is gonna be asked the whole entire year. If they go on 2-game winning streak, they might win. They might start the season out 5-0, and then we're always gonna come back to, okay, the last 3 years have not done anything in October, and we'll be talking about October. So it's a bunch of questions on this team. I know they're a good team. They got a lot of things. Momentum has been surging since that loss to Kansas City in the playoffs.
Yeah,
but this team got a lot to prove, man. Lot to prove.
Yeah, they do, and I think they feel the same way. I don't sense arrogance coming from them. Any of them, when I hear them talking, I sense confidence. I hear confidence, very sure of themselves, very sure of Doug Peterson and the direction he's trying to take them. Kevin, I think it's Evan Ingram. They showed a video of him coming, the players coming in. They reported today. And he said, man, it's going to be a great year. He said, it's going to be a really good year. It's like, because they know, they're confident. They know what they are. They know what they have. They see it every day. So, of course, that will make you confident. And you have the ultimate person to put the chess pieces on the board and put them in the best possible situations to succeed. All the faith in the world in that. So, but it's going to be interesting to see how the training camp plays out, how things shake out on the offensive line. There's rumors of them maybe acquiring Danielle Hunter from the Minnesota Vikings. It's so weird, man. Social media is such a part of the game now. I know the purists don't like it, but people pay attention to social media. It is what it is. I mean, whether it's celebrities, or athletes or whoever, politicians, people pay attention to social media and what people do on social media. And Danielle Hunter followed the Jaguars and a couple of Jaguar players. Now, how somebody found this information out, who's monitoring their likes and who they follow, don't know. I would urge that whoever those people are, unless you're getting paid handsomely, you need to go outside and touch some grass. Because, I would have never looked to even think to look for something like that. But the add Danielle Hunter, I don't want to oversell adding Danielle Hunter and what that would mean to this team. But adding Danielle Hunter gives you a punch in the pass rush that you haven't had since 2017. Yo, can you hear me? Can you
he's
hear me?
fading out.
Okay,
You
there
hear
you go.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, they get that's I think that's what's missing. I mean, to be honest, I mean a big name, veteran, talented defensive front guy who can go out and get the pass rush on the quarterback. You know, if you can go all out, get all your needs. You know, I mean, if he's available, get him. like, and I agree with you on this. I mean, there's a reason a guy would be following the team on social media. I mean, I don't know what that signifies, but obviously there's an interest. And I'm surely the interest is mutual. But like I say, man, it's going to be a long summer, long training camp. And I'm gonna be like Dion, you know. I'm gonna say that what you see on that roster going into training camp, it's gonna be some. I think it's gonna be a few more additions. You know, I just like for the Jags, and I think I said this last week. I want them to address every little minor, and it's minor. You know, I don't think they got any glaring roster holes. It would help to have another big name veteran willing to, you know, basically come in and be a third down situational pass rusher. If they can get that guy, then that would be something good. If not, then, you know, you got to rely on the Josh Allens and the Trayvon Walkers and those type of guys. But like I say, when you in this league, you know, you go from getting the playoffs, and then you go from there to sustaining them being a playoff contending team, to taking that level to, you know, we all know what the next step is, getting to the Super Bowl. And when you're a good team, I think if you ask Kansas City, there's guys in Kansas City that buys into playing a role. You know, everybody's not going to be a starter. You know, everybody buys into their role because that role helps us win. And I think that's something this team going to have to, you know, some players going to have to learn. You know, ETN, I mean, he's going to get as many carries as he got that he received last year. You know, why? Well, they don't need to run them when you got three other backs and quality backs that can do the same. You preserve them. I want to see them get the totes in the playoffs. I don't, you know, I mean, we all care about what happened in the regular season, but you preserve a guy like him so he'd be fully, you know, ain't nursing an injury or any of that type of stuff, and utilize what you have, which is the backfield. And then when you win, you know, guys, you know, I've been hearing this stuff like, you know, Levon Chason is gonna, you know, I mean, he's gonna finally step to the plate, but hey, man, I'm as optimistic. I'm optimistic as I've ever been with this Jaguar team since going into that 2017 season. And I'll say this: I mean, usually when a guy have not shown some signs in 4 years, I mean, you know, you do get some flashes because this is his contract year. But if I got to rely on this guy, that's telling me I might need to look and add some depth. Like, hey, if somebody, well, let me see here. Who had 7? If one of these teams that's good, that's got a lot of depth on the defensive front, and one of those guys get cut, I'm grabbing him. I'll rely on that guy to lead me through the season before I rely on Levon Chason. You know, I mean, I always say this: the biggest flaw in a general manager and the front office is when you can't admit your mistake that the draft pick didn't pan out. And you don't have to wait 4 years to find out that he probably not going to earn himself a second contract in Jacksonville. And in this league, you can't be close to the quarterback and don't sack him.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a 6th-round pick, that might be okay. But when you're a 1st-round pick, and essentially you being pat on the back for being close but not close enough, then I think those guys realize we're probably, and I like what they did. You know, you look at DeJuan Smoot, I think that was more out of respect and not losing a guy that you don't know what he could bring to your table once he get fully healed. And you don't want that talent to go away and that'll haunt you, because that's been a problem with the Jaguars for over the years. You know, you done nursed the guy, you done went through this growing pains with him, and then it's time to
retain in talent.
The show is right, and he's going to show it somewhere else. So I think that signing was out of respect. But I mean, let's be clear. He's not going to be in a position to help you till probably late October at the earliest, I would think. You know, I mean, tearing a Achilles tendon is tough. You know, that's the thing that you do to get the push off and all that. So he's not going to be in your playing plans at least till late October. So, I mean, you got money. You might want to invest it in a guy that what he's got him on. He's got him followed on his Twitter site.
Yeah. And what you said about admitting mistakes, I'll never forget years ago when Percy Harvin left the Minnesota Vikings and he signed with the Seattle Seahawks, and they signed him to a huge deal. It was like $60-something million at the time. And when they signed it, I was like, okay, yeah, Percy is a great player. He was one of the most electrifying college players we had ever seen. Only the closest thing to his electricity is Tavon Austin, Reggie Bush, DeAnthony Thomas, some people like that. I mean, every time he touched the ball, he was a threat to score. But in the NFL, they're paying him $60+ million. I was like, why are you paying a receiver who never had 1,000 yards this type of money? I was like, I don't see this panning out, because he's not I won't say traditional receiver, because he's kind of a running back a little bit too, but he could play. But I was like, paying him that type of money, I was like, I don't know about that. And how long he was with the Seahawks? For a year and a half? I think a year he was with them. They won the Super Bowl, and I think he was gone the next year. They admitted their mistake quickly. I didn't think they would do that, but he was gone out of town, I think, the very next year. So I don't know what's taking Jacksonville so long. It's a compliment. Caleb Vaughn is close. He's ready to pop in year 4, and he's ready to. Okay, I hear that. I think I would feel better if I didn't hear anything at all. But the fact that I'm hearing that sounds like they're trying to hype him up a little bit, maybe get his confidence up. And maybe they have seen some things, but it's going to be a lot of pressure on him to perform because he hasn't.
Yeah, and I watched some of their games. I mean, he's got some rush on the quarterback, and he's getting close to him, but he hadn't sacked him. I mean, we're not going to validate a guy that's a first-round pick and played on a national championship football team in college, and the best thing we've seen over the last 2 years that he can get close to the quarterback. That doesn't justify being a first-round pick. So if they seen more, which I'll say this, there'll be a lot of eyes on him during training camp to see what his progress is and that kind of thing. But I just don't want this football team to have to rely on a guy, because look, if you go back on the history, I mean, we don't want to go through the same song of waiting on a guy to turn the corner when he can't turn the corner. I mean,
yeah, literally,
I don't want to go back to to all the guys that we done followed with this football team over the years.
Yeah.
And they get into, we done seen it. Oh yeah, he's gonna break through. He's gonna break the corner. He's gonna finally turn the corner.
Yeah.
And man, that's the longest corner in Jacksonville. He can't turn it. And I don't want us to, hey, we speak the truth on this show. There's a lot more better prospects that's on this football team that could help this team immediately than us waiting on a guy who hadn't turned the corner in 3 seasons, going on his 4th year. So if there's a guy out there, which you don't have to pay a lot of money, I think you can find a guy who see what the talent level is with this Jaguars team, saw what they did last year, want to be a contributor, and doesn't mind being a specialty player like a 3rd down pass rusher and willing to take less money, then maybe you might want to set your sights on getting that guy instead of relying on a guy that we all been waiting to turn the corner. He hadn't turned the corner, man. I mean, this is the NFL. This is not the show me what you got 5 years from now. This is the NFL. It's based on production and performance. And if you had it in 3 years, it's a not for long league, which is basically, this guy got a contract with him to turn the corner, which I don't think he's going to do it, but I've been wrong. He could be a vital contributor. I think they should. To be honest, I think there's too talk on. I mean, I think it's too much talk. I think we should be talking about Kevin Lloyd. I think we should be about more. I think we should be talking about those linemen. If this is it for Shaq Quarterman, if he can't show production, I think he's a bigger star than. And I think that we need to be talking about what kind of depth they got in the secondary. One of the cornerbacks go down like Tyson Campbell, but on for the last 3 years. I mean, have you seen it? No. Have I seen it? No. So what?
I mean,
and I'll be honest with you.
I was gonna mention Taven. Now I was gonna mention Taven Bryant and how he was.
But it's similar to Taven. I didn't want to mention his name, but
I didn't either. But
we've been through. We have this. We don't want a rerun. Okay, this is the same thing. 1st round pick didn't show nothing. Keep waiting on him. Keep waiting on him. What the franchise say? Oh, his better days are still ahead. He's showing signs. Okay, well, and then when we get in the game, the guy can back, run off tackle, almost touch him, and he still not over to make the play. I've seen a chase on. I've seen a guy that can get to the quarterback, and then you might have a third move to get to him, and he gets stopped in his track.
Yeah,
you're not going to be. You're not secondary, third move, whatever it takes to sack a quarterback. This ain't LSU. You're not in Vanderbilt. So,
yeah,
and he's a good man.
Yeah, but
I hope that don't become the focus of. I'd rather I have the concentration on the offense and the high offense and or scab and talk about this offensive line, then hey, and we waiting on Jaylen Chase on to turn the corner.
Yeah, let's make that put that in the rear view and make that a footnote of training camp. Yeah, and the focus, like you say, the focus is on Trevor, the receivers, the tight ends, this offensive line specifically as far as offense. That's the only question mark right now as far as offense is concerned. So, the focus being on the offensive line. It focuses on the pass rush as well, excluding Caleb Chason. And, figuring out, as far as the nickel and what's going to happen there. But Trevor and this offense, they're going to be really good. I mean, just thinking about it, and even when you said last week that he's like, you wouldn't be surprised they average 30 points a game. And logically, I'm like, yeah, that's 4 touchdowns in the field goal. They scored 4 touchdowns in the field goal in the Chargers game in a little over a half. So, I mean, it's just what it is. They can do that. But even with that said, it still feels kind of surreal because we haven't seen consistency from Jacksonville since Jack Del Rio days. I mean, we really want to be frank about it. Yeah, Jack Del Rio days. That's the last time we saw some type of consistency. And then even in those times, he was still up and down from year to year. I mean, so if you want to talk about consistently being up, you got to go back to Tom Coughlin and what that is. So to even think about Jacksonville being very good year in and year out moving forward, it's hard to still wrap your mind around because I still thinking about the same old Jags losing games they shouldn't lose, they'll beat a team that they shouldn't beat, but then come back and lose next week to somebody who they should mop the floor with. So, I mean, that's what's been a Jaguar fan's life. So to think about them being successful going forward, man, it's good to think about, but man, I still get those, that doubt creeps in like, same old Jags.
But I say true to my heart, I think if I always as a fan, I'm a fan now. I say that out of the last 5 seasons or whatever it's been since 2017, I think this is the year, this is the summer, this is the training camp that the fans definitely have a reason to be optimistic and exciting. I really feel that this everything is pretty much fell in line during the off season. I think that the optimism. I used to think that the optimism here in Jacksonville would be overblown a lot, but I think everything that's been said about the football team is deserving. I think they got a chance to be a very good football team to take the baton from where they left off last year. They got the offensive firepower to match up against any team in the league, even including Buffalo. I know people be talking like Buffalo like the most hellified team in the regular season. You have to wait and get them in the playoffs because they don't play the playoffs as they do as the regular season, but they put some points on you in the regular season. But I think this team can essentially play with anybody in a shootout, no matter what the team is. And I think that when you look at that facility, the first classness of everything, the way that look, and the prospects of even better things come ahead with a new stadium. They announced the hotel. I think everything, when you build a team that's going to be lasting, we're not talking about a 1-year thing. We're talking about longevity. I think everything has to fall in place. And I think that finally open the clouds for this franchise to make their fans, to make us, which we fans, make us feel that we got something to root, something to shout about, and we ain't gonna be disappointed in December, or for that matter in January. You know, we I used to say it'd be so much optimism here that you'd be gun ho about the team, and then by the time October come, you burned out because you're just so disappointed in what you've seen. And I don't think that this football team is gonna fall in that trap no more. I think they learned some tough lessons, but most importantly, I think they've learned what it takes to win, and that's come from last season. And I think that you look at all the stuff they had to go through last year. They had to learn a new playbook. They had to learn a new coaching staff. You know, you're talking about Trevor Lawrence had to learn. You know, he really learned anything his rookie year, basically be a rookie again. And you look now, I mean, those guys out there working out in Arizona somewhere, taking the initiative. And they know that. I mean, they know they can be. I mean, when you look, I can look at a guy and say, this guy can essentially do what he wants. And it ain't just one receiver. I think all those receivers feel that they can do what they need to do to get open, and the ball gonna be there, and we can score some points. So, if they ain't got nothing else, I think they got a great group of guys with Trevor that can get the ball downfield, and they can beat you in a shootout. Which is, I mean, I know, you know, defense is defense, but you know, people win Super Bowls giving up over 25 points a game. We ain't got no more NFL way. Those days of the Bears is gone.
Ravens, 2000 Ravens, that's past. That's just what it is. The game is now over with. The game is now, they designed it for offense to score points because, hey, that's what's going to get the fan to watch. So offenses are given the green light to score. I mean, it just is what it is. But, as far as teams are concerned, and especially in the AFC, dude, the only two teams that will worry me or will keep me up at night, you know, you had to see them, is Cincinnati and Kansas City. Outside of that, highly confident. Dude, Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills lost to Urban Meyer. He only scored 6 points in that game. So I'm not that's not a worry at all. Buffalo is not a worry. I mean, Buffalo is a good team, but I think Buffalo can be beat. I mean, it's just what it is. But outside of you beat the Ravens, you beaten everybody else. But Cincinnati and Kansas City, those are going to be your two bugaboos right there. You have to overcome those two because you're going to have to see one or both in order to get to a championship. It's just what it is. But as far as the receivers are concerned, the man that's been forgotten about, because Evan Ingram signed his extension, so you know he's in the forefront. Calvin Ridley, we know what is going on. They call him Agent Zero, and you know you're dying to see what he's going to bring. And you know if he can just be 75 to 80% of what he was in Atlanta, he's going to have a great year. Christian Kirk, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. The man who's forgotten is Zay Jones. Zay Jones has become a forgotten man. Now he won't be forgotten Sunday because he's going to be one-on-one running open a lot of times because the attention is going to be on Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, and Calvin Ridley. And I think Zay Jones is going to take full advantage of that.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want matchups. I mean, it's just like any, I talk about the NBA a lot, but I won't mismatch it. I won't. Hey, you leave them open, and you got somebody that can't cover them or undersized, and hey, there's Zay Jones there to take advantage of it. Whoever has a mismatch, that's who you take advantage of, and that's what it's all about, man. I think just having Calvin Ridley alone is enough to free up the rest of those guys. That he's going to be taking a lot of the concentration of the defense because he can go deep and he can run routes. Yeah. Excellent. And you got that type of focus when that safety got to, have his attention on one receiver, and then you got explosive back like ETN, then those are the matchup situations that the Jaguars going to present problems to opposing teams, which is a good thing. I want to see those guys, man. I think somebody said, I read something. I think the Jags average like 24 points a game or 23, high 23 points, somewhere in 20. I think it was 23-8 or something like that.
Yeah.
And he said he want to average, add 7 points to that average from last year. Like average, one more touchdown than what they averaged last year per game, which will essentially put them about 34 points a game. Mm-hmm. I want to see that.
Oh yes.
I want to see that type of production. I went back this week, man. I was watching some of their old games. I was watching that Chargers game, not the playoff game, the regular season game where they went to LA and beat the hell out of them.
Yes. I watched that whole game over again.
That's the kind of football I want.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I want to see too. Yeah. But man, we're gonna put a pin in that right there. But we're gonna stay in football. We're gonna move on to the Washington Commanders. They were approved for sale to the Josh Harris Group, notably including Magic Johnson in that ownership group, for NFL record $6 billion. So man, that's ridiculous money, But yeah, so they announced that, and finally the Washington Commanders can finally heal and move forward and become a competent franchise that's not under the leadership of Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder, along with James Dolan, along with Dan Gilbert. And there's a couple other ones in there, but those are the most notably of being some of the worst owners in sports. It's just what it is. I don't know these men personally. I just pay attention to their franchise and the moves they make. Awful, absolutely awful. And Dan Snyder is in that group. He's one of them. And now the NFL, they were ready to boot him out and ready to get him out of there, and they got him out of there. But he was also fined $60 million following an investigation by Mary Jo White, who's a former U.S. attorney. And they investigated. So I'm reading a little bit of this, and we're going to chop it up about it. It says the NFL announced on Thursday that former Washington Commanders owner Dan Snyder paid $60 million to the league in resolution of findings from former U.S. attorney Mary Jo White's investigation into the franchise and all outstanding matters. White reports said it sustained an allegation from former team marketing employee Tiffany Johnston of sexual harassment by Snyder, and an allegation from former VP of Ticket Sales and Service Jason Friedman that the team deliberately underreported its shareable NFL revenues in violation of NFL policies. The conduct substantiated in Mrs. White's findings has no place in the NFL, Commissioner Roger Goodell said in a statement. We strive for workplaces that are safe, respectful, and professional. What Ms. Johnston experienced is inappropriate and contrary to the NFL's values. Really, Roger Goodell, that's highly debatable, but we're going to move forward. The release of White's report came minutes after the NFL owners voted unanimously to approve the sale of the Commanders franchise to a partnership led by Josh Harris for league record $6 billion. Snyder and the Commanders have been subjects of a leading investigation by White concerning allegations of workplace misconduct and potential unlawful financial conduct. The league hired White in February 2022 to investigate allegations Johnston made against Snyder during a congressional roundtable earlier that month. Johnston alleged that Snyder placed his hand on her thigh during a work-related dinner at Washington, D.C. restaurant and pushed her towards the backseat of his limo after dinner in an unsuccessful effort to have her ride with him. The league announced on Thursday that White's investigation sustained both allegations made by Johnston. Additionally, White's investigation sustained a separate allegation by Johnston that a former senior executive of the club improperly viewed an unedited calendar photograph of her, but the report stated the evidence was insufficient to show that Mr. Snyder was involved in this incident. Now, I wonder, did that photo of her stem from the event that they had to go to where they were pretty much all they had on was body paint, and it was for like, I guess with his like people who were like boosters of the team, officials of the team, high-ranking people within the team. They went to an event and they had the model with just like body paint on, and I think took pictures or something like that. So I wonder if that stems from that, because that was a part of it as well. But the NFL, I mean, this is on the NFL. This is a black eye on the NFL. This says more about the NFL than it does Dan Snyder, because Dan Snyder has only done what he was allowed to do. I mean, this the shield, right? You protecting the shield, right? I have nothing to say to them right now as far as this, because it's inexcusable. Like Roger Goodell saying that this has no place in it. Really? I mean, I really couldn't tell. I mean, because it's happened over and over and over again. And, they had the campaign with lean in and being an advocate and being an ally and being all these things. And then the Black Lives Matter on the field and all of this stuff and all of these empty gestures that they do over and over again, and nothing changes from year to year. People get tired of it, man. But at the very least, you got Dan Snyder out of your league. Kudos to you.
Yeah. I'll say this quickly. That's the one thing I don't like about this league, because when I look back on, the franchise was sold, and I tweeted about this, that you had him pay the $60 million fine. So you're going to tell me that all for the last 2-3 years, you basically knew what this guy was doing and just sat on it until you can get enough votes to get him out, to force him to sell the franchise. And to me, that's not leadership from the commissioner. That's buying in with the good old boys of the NFL ownership. And here's a guy that's been flawed and done been doing sexually harassment, who knows what else. And this is a league who sat back even during the investigations, wasn't going to release the findings of the investigation until he decided that it was time for him to sell the team, which is unacceptable as a league. Basically, this league and this commissioner bought on his terms. You punishing a guy with $60 million and he's getting $6 billion. Come on, man. I know what math is.
Joke.
So basically, he's not being punished at all unless there's a criminal investigation, because
what up, Harrison?
He was more powerful than the league. I mean, there's been so many accusations streaming out there, and basically this commissioner and these owners basically look the other way. Years.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that there's a new day in Washington. I like to see, definitely like that Magic Johnson is a part of that ownership group. But man, that franchise got to go through a whole lot of healing, because Dan Snyder really ran that franchise to the ground. And it's all about power. These owners got more power than the guy who's supposed to be running the league. And who's to say that this doesn't, hey, who's to say that this may not be going on in another franchise? This guy sexually harassing the women that works for the organization, and nothing being said or done about it until after the fact. And the only thing he gets was, okay, I'm going to sell the franchise. I done my dirtiness. You don't want me here. And another thing, this guy stole money from the owners.
Stole money.
He stole money from the owners.
Yeah.
Whatever the allotment was, he wasn't paying what his share of the allotment to give back to the league.
Say $11 million is what he accrued over that time that he stole. They said their findings, they found about $11 million.
That's why I say, man, this league got to really repair itself because it does not act quickly enough. It does not publicize the things that need to be out there with this franchise and those fans buying tickets, doing what they supposed to do as fans, and being essentially lied to by this ownership group and by the league. And the league sitting on information without disclosing it. And then, as I tweeted last week, the Washington Commanders is sold, and then 10 minutes later, Dan Snyder has to. I mean, we're gonna disclose the findings of this investigation 10 minutes after they sold the team. I mean, what kind of, what? I mean, let's be real, man. What type of punishment is that? Oh, we're gonna cleanse our hands of him, but we're not gonna announce anything until everything is signed, sealed, and delivered, and he's no longer the owner of the Commanders. I mean, come on, man. You could be the biggest PR with billions of dollars and try to put that perfect spin on a story, and it backfires because it just says to me that this league knew all of this and wanted to put a pretty face on a bad story and wanted to wait till the sale was finalized to tell the truth about an owner who's been like a rogue owner for the last 10, 20 years. It's unacceptable for a league to do that. It's unacceptable.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, man. Dan Snyder, he walks around like he has the swagger of like a Al Davis, or or Jerry Jones, or even a Robert Kraft. Like, no, sorry, no, you don't have the success to back that up as far as your franchise is concerned. Now your franchise has been successful. Will you yourself? No, absolutely not. No, not with you at the helm. And this is the last question I have before we move on: is where are the emails? 600,000 emails. They supposedly, I'm sure they destroyed them, but I want to know what was in those emails, because it wasn't just about the Commanders. It was some sensitive information that could have ruined everybody's day, I'm sure. I would love to have known what was in those emails.
Yeah, you get one coach fired, and he still get to own the team for 2 years.
Yeah,
that's unacceptable.
So, unacceptable. But man, we're gonna leave it right there. Man, we at 50 already, so we're gonna go through these last ones, relatively quickly, but we're gonna go through them. So we're gonna stay in football, but we're gonna go to college and say FAMU, Florida A&M University, lifts ban on football activities amid investigation of rap video. So Florida A&M Athletics Director Tiffany Dawn Sykes, I didn't know she was the athletic director. I know Tiffany Dawn Sykes, said Monday the football team will be allowed to resume using its facilities while the university investigates the unauthorized filming of a rap video featuring some Rattlers players in the team's locker room. All team activities were suspended Friday night by Coach Willie Simmons after a video by Tallahassee, Florida rapper Real Boston Richie was posted on social media last week showing him performing in the FAMU locker room with some of the players and team gear. The players were not identified by the school. Real Boston Richie's, whose real name is Jaylen Foster, performed at FAMU's homecoming game last year. Simmons said Saturday the team facility, weight room, and access to the stadium field were off limits to all players until he and the administration could sort out who was involved in the video shoot. A team meeting was scheduled for Monday. We'll determine at that point if more severe penalties need to be handed down. Sykes posted on Twitter that the team would be cleared to return to football activities on Tuesday. She said the university's Office of Compliance and Ethics was investigating. I will make myself available for comment at the conclusion of the investigation, she said. See, the Southwestern Athletic Conference will hold its football media day for its 12 members on Tuesday in Birmingham, Alabama, and Florida A&M plan to attend. Simmons, along with quarterback Jeremy Musa and defensive back Javon Morgan, were expected to take part. Now, I had some choice words about this, words that I can't say, or I can say it, but I don't want to say it because this is a family show. I said it at the party Saturday, though, so you get asked what was said when I saw the news come across in my initial reaction and what I called it. But this is ridiculous, man. This is ridiculous. Like this stuff like this pisses me off. Why you had to do this at a HBCU, man? I mean, he would have did this at Ohio State. He would have did this at Florida. Why didn't you go to Florida State and do this? Why didn't you go to Clemson and do this? Why didn't you go to Georgia and try to do this? You had to come to HBCU to do this. And I understand, hey, he was enabled. Hey, all he did was knock on the door. Somebody had to open it and let him in. And that's why they stopped football activities, so they find out who gave him access and who let him in, because there were players in there. Like initially, it was thought that he performed like inside the stadium, like he did a video in the stadium. I told him, no, not the stadium. It was in the locker room. They had team gear on. And they was like, oh, they need to shut everything down. People need to get suspended. Somebody's about to be fired. But for this to even be able to go on, man, it's just, it paints a bad picture of FAMU itself and, fair or not fair, of HBCUs as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, man. They don't need any more mud slung on them.
None.
I think that that was something that should have been avoided. And negative publicity is already tough. But when you already got to deal with negativity, I call it negativity, on top of negativity, you got perceptions about what people think of the programs or HBCU programs, and then you have something like this, and it doesn't help anything. And I agree with you. I mean, why go there? I mean, go somewhere else and do your videos.
Yeah. Yeah.
But and I think the HBCUs I think they're doing, a lot of the schools are doing. I mean, I don't think perception is a tough thing to break.
Yeah.
I think people criticize Dion and that he basically abandoned. They say he abandoned Jackson State, but one thing it showed that he could, you can be successful at a HBCU if you do things the right way. And I don't think you have to be a Hall of Fame football player in the NFL to get the type of recognition that's needed for a program like Jackson State. But you don't want negative publicity to tear down your program, because that video or some things like that is hard to not allow that to keep coming back. It keep coming back. You don't want to be perceived. I mean, look what like a party school and anything goes and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's the biggest problem coming from that we'd be 5 years down the line and somebody be showing the video of with the profanity and all that, are like, man, this is what they allow here and that type of thing. So you want to always have your perception of your program to the point that it's respected, and you don't want to black out. That's just like anything. I mean, you don't want to put something on your Twitter account when you're 14 years old and you may not be smart enough about your decision making, but believe it or not, something that you might post that you regret, you may not think about it at 14, but it could come back and when you're 27 and impact you much tougher at 27 than it did at 14. And this is the same thing. You want your
ask Jay
image.
Green about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, shooting Laramie Tunsil. Ask Laramie Tunsil about that. I mean, yeah. I mean, it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The guy can be all pro, but they can still go back to the archives and he got that gas mask on. You know something?
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, internet is forever. Let's see. So, but yeah, man, we're gonna leave it right there. Yeah, we're gonna leave it right there. We're gonna stay in college football, and we're gonna talk about Jim Harbaugh. See, Michigan's Jim Harbaugh and the NCAA working toward 4-game suspension over recruiting investigation. See, Jim Harbaugh and the NCAA are working toward a negotiated resolution that is expected to see him suspended for 4 games this season and penalties stemming from alleged false statements he originally made to investigators, sources tell Yahoo Sports. The agreement is an initial version of the negotiated resolution and not yet finalized. The resolution must now be approved by the NCAA Committee on Infractions, which could take several days, if not weeks. The committee has authority to adjust penalties. The Michigan's first 4 games are all at home, with 3 of the teams against the group of 5, East Carolina, UNLV, and Bowling Green. On September 23rd, Michigan hosts a Rutgers team that finished 4-8 last season. Oh man, so he gets suspended for these first 4 games. I mean, it's a cupcake schedule, those first 4 games. So I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, he said the Wolverines, who returned several key major pieces from the team that finished 13-1 the season ago, are expected to begin the year inside the top 5 of the preseason rankings. Harbaugh's impending suspension is centered on the NCAA's investigation into recruiting violations committed by he and Wolverine staff members. The NCAA enforcement staff alleged that Harbaugh was dishonest about the recruiting violations in his initial meeting with investigators. A quick resolution broke down in January after Harbaugh refused to admit that he lied to NCAA staff. The 59-year-old coach has maintained he didn't recall the events when first speaking with the investigators, but that he was never purposefully dishonest. The University of Michigan did not immediately respond when asked for comment. A previous Harbaugh staff member did not escape unscathed. Former defensive coordinator Mike McDonald, now the defensive coordinator of Harbaugh's brother John at the Baltimore Ravens, is expected to receive a 1-year show cause penalty. Show cause penalties make it more difficult for coaches to land a job in college athletics. 2 current Michigan assistants are also expected to receive sanctions, including offensive coordinator Sharon Moore and tight ends coach Grant Newsom. For Harbaugh, the negotiated resolution is a signal that the coach acknowledged some sort of dishonesty. The NCAA considers lying to investigators as a level 1 violation, the most serious on the organization's scale. A level 1 violation could carry with it a 6-game suspension and significant recruiting restrictions according to NCAA statutes. So it's a lot more of that, but I mean, are we surprised by this? I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, he lied to the investigators about what went on, probably to protect his guys. Understandable, to protect his defensive coordinator, his offensive coordinator, and his tight ends coach. He didn't want to throw them under the bus during the investigation. And I'm sure once they came to him with a smoking gun, he was like, okay, you got me. I was just trying to protect my guys or whatever. So I could kind of get that. But, I mean, these violations, I'm not surprised that these things are still going on. Like it's running rampant right now. These NILs, money's being thrown all over the place. There's no organization. Lane Kiffin called it chaos. Can you imagine that? Lane Kiffin, Mr. Chaos himself, called it chaos. That lets you know the state of college football and these NIL deals, the name, image, and likeness money deals. It just is what it is. But I'm not surprised by this. And those 4 games are a joke because they play a cupcake schedule early.
About Wayne Kiffin, though, man. One thing about what I'm finding out about college football It's the battle of the haves and the battle of the have-nots. So when you're a state like Mississippi, your NIL donors don't bring in the dough like don't bring in the money like you can get at Tennessee or somewhere. So when you ain't got that type of money, speaking out like Nick Saban know he can't outspend University of Texas. Yeah. So I'm finding that a lot of the coaches like, okay, man, football going out of control. But if you were at an interstate flow like oil, like in Texas, I don't think you'll hear that quite same response. Where he benefiting from the NIL.
What up, Ness?
Ole Miss is benefiting, but I don't think they pay the figures that some of these others can.
Yeah. The stream is choppy. I appreciate everybody for staying tuned and tuned in. Yeah, but I wanted to get this done. We had to get this done today. But yeah. I mean, so it is what it is. But I think that you're going to see more of this. You're going to see more of this because now that money is flowing, it's violations happening right now as we speak. So as they do their investigations and try to get a handle on these NIL deals and this money being thrown around by the schools, the alumni, boosters, and all of that, it's going to be a lot more suspensions and sanctions coming up. I mean, Tennessee just got hit with sanctions. Now Michigan is going to go through it as well. I mean, you name it, they're going to go through it. So, we're going to leave it right there. Now we're going to move to the NBA before we get on up out of here. Yeah, we right over an hour. And, we move to basketball, NBA and college. But first in the NBA, Celtics Jaylen Brown agrees to a $304 million contract over 5 years, the richest contract in NBA history, eclipsing the 276 that Jokic signed in 2022. And the only thing I really had to say about that was, man, that is ridiculous money, man. Like that is ridiculous money, and I don't know if I would have paid Jaylen Brown that type of money. That's just me. That's just me. He's a good player. He's a young player, room to grow. But in Twitter is a very unforgiving and hilarious place. All they talking about is how he can't dribble with his left hand. Like, you made the richest player in the NBA can't dribble with his left hand. Like, they've been making so many jokes about that. So many memes, videos, you name it. They've been going in on him not being able to dribble with his left hand. Like, it's hilarious. But I don't know if I would have done this. I would have maybe traded him somewhere else, try to see what I could get for him. I mean, I understand why they didn't do it, and they're kind of in between the rock and a hard place because you have to pay the going rate for young, rising talent. I mean, that is what it is. Regardless of whether you feel like they earned it or not. Like, the Cowboys just paid Trayvon Diggs, extended him $96-97 million. Don't know if he's worth that. But on the market, that's what he's going to get, so you have to pay that rate. Justin Herbert just got signed his deal, 5 years, $262 million. Stupid money once again. Now Herbert, I think, is worth that money. He's worth being, a top court, being paid as a top quarterback in his league. Is he worth being the top overall paid player in the league? Don't know. Debatable. I'm gonna go with maybe not. But it doesn't matter because it's not about who's the best when it comes to these things. It's about who's next.
Well, I say on record that I think they overpaying Jaylen Brown by a long shot. I wouldn't have not re-signed them for that figure. Actually, I probably would have traded them to get some veteran players, somebody a little bit more effective in the post than Porzingis, and I would have tried to, remade my roster without having to pay that kind of money. And that's not the history of Boston paying that kind of money. I know they paid Kevin Garnett and guys like that a lot of money, but the thing about Jaylen got to mature a little more, and I think he's got to understand that there's two stars on this. In order for them to work, both those guys got to be, you got to share the ball, and you got to rise up in big moments. You can't be. He's the highest paid player in the league. Well, the highest paid player in the league has to be consistent and not show. I say this all the time, man. You cannot be a player who don't show up at all times. You got to show up at all times. You can't be you can't be having games against the Heat with 12 points. You can't do that. So, and this is Boston, and like any other team, I say the same thing about Portland. I mean, when your organization make a decision like that, then you have to understand this is a decision that's going to impact this franchise for the life of this contract and beyond, because that is that luxury tax. You got a contract like that, and I don't know what's the breakdown per year that he's earning, and what does go against that cap each year. But that alters a lot of decisions. Then hopefully you got enough money in the bank that you be able to pay your other superstar similar money when it comes his time. So, I don't know, man. I don't know where the NBA at right now with this stuff, man. From Philly to Boston, Milwaukee got their stuff together. They just got to win. New Orleans is another problem. I mean, we got some teams in the NBA that's knocking on the door of the luxury tax and got decisions to make on superstars who essentially not playing like superstars, but getting paid like one. So we'll see.
That's
a lot of money.
Going to see. It's a lot. It's a lot, man. So I don't know. I don't know if I would have paid him that, but hey, it is what it is. You have to pay the going rate. That's just what it is. You can't get around that. It's a net say Jaylen Brown. About what the hell? So that is ridiculous. He was awful in the playoffs when it counted. Boston, are you serious?
He don't show up for he definitely didn't show up in that Heat series. He don't get along with everybody on the team.
When I seen this, right, I heard the reports of him and Jason Tatum not seeing eye to eye and having an issue with each other. So you signed him to the super max. I mean, who you moving? I mean, Marcus Smart has already been moved, and people thought that they moved Marcus Smart, so maybe he was the problem. And Marcus Smart came out. He's like, nah. He said, I'm good with both of them. He said, Jaylen Brown is my guy. Jason Tatum is my guy. I said, I have no issue with either one of them. So that's not the issue. But the issue between Tatum and Brown is between them and them alone. So, whether that's their report was true or whatever. But as I always say, well, there's smoke, there's fire. So it's probably an issue between those two. So, hey, maybe they can, if they got beef, when he got $304 million, Jason Tatum, hey, you better grill it up and eat it. I mean, that's just what it is, dog.
I say this for my basketball acumen. I think I would have paid Jason Tatum that kind of money ahead of
I would have paid Jason Tatum that kind of money. Yes. I definitely would
say the money bag for Jason and then just say, get me some more parts and pieces that can play with Jason. But
and Jaylen Brown is a good player now.
Boston,
don't get it twisted. Yeah, he's a great player. We're not downing his skill or how great of a basketball player he is, but for the pay, no, absolutely not. Yeah, so man, we're gonna leave it right there, and I'm gonna stay in basketball, but go to college, and we are out of here. Say LeBron James' son, Bronny James, suffers cardiac arrest at USC practice. He said while practicing at USC on Monday, LeBron James confirmed the scare involving his son as he prepared for his first season with the Trojans in a statement to TMZ. He said, while practicing, Bronny James suffered cardiac arrest, the James family said. Say medical staff was able to treat Bronny and take him to the hospital. He's now in stable condition and no longer in ICU. We ask for respect and privacy for the James family. We will update media when there's more information. Say Bronny was rushed to the hospital after a 911 call was made at 9:26 in the morning from the Galen Center where USC practices. Bronny, 18, was a 4-star recruit after starring at Sierra Canyon High School. LeBron and Savannah wish to publicly send their deepest thanks and appreciation to the USC medical staff and medical and athletic staff for their incredible work and dedication to safety of their athletes. So, according to TMZ, Bronny was unconscious before he was taken by ambulance to the hospital. A 911 dispatcher can also be heard saying unconscious on audio obtained by the outlet. Say the medical emergency was a code 3 according to TMZ, which signifies emergency teams arriving at the scene with ambulance lights and sirens. Bronny, the oldest son of James, is entering his freshman year at USC. Man, how TMZ get? They got 911 audio. Oh my god, who's selling information like that? I mean, golly. But hey, it is what it is. But of course, one of the main things that people were bringing up, especially on social media, and everybody's like fed up with it, asking the question, was he vaccinated or not? People saying, well, people need to leave that alone, or there could be other things or whatever. But I mean, it is a valid question. Let's not act like it's not a valid question, because I've seen stats where like prior to like the pandemic, like it was like less than 1,000 athletes had went into cardiac arrest, whether playing or practicing. It's like less than 1,000, like 700 somewhere up in there. And then since the pandemic, you've had over 1,500 athletes go into cardiac arrest. Now we're talking about 100 years of recorded history versus 3 years, 700 to 1,500 in the 3-year span. That's significant. I don't care what you say. I don't care who you're talking about. Blame whatever it is. We still ask the question because we don't know. Now, something else could be going on with him. I think one of the things they talked about is having a heart arrhythmia and things like that. And, maybe he had an underlying condition that is not known. But but this has got, I'm sure whatever LeBron James was doing at the time, he dropped it. He dropped it and he went straight to wherever Bronny was. So, we just hope he makes a speedy recovery.
Yes, sir. I mean, it's the most important thing is making sure he has recovery, and you got to commend attending to him quick, and I don't know if that would have been their training staff or the best. Because my understanding was he was at practice, so the main thing was getting him oxygen and they stabilize him, and it's knock on wood and praise Jesus that he's not in ICU anymore. He's stabilized. So
yeah,
man, that's a scary thing. And we live in a society now where I believe you have to question everything, man. You I mean, from vaccines to medical care when you get to the hospital to just questioning things. I think we got to be in a society now that not accept everything, but question everything, And we got questions about this. He's a young man, 18 years old, physically fit, plays basketball, and, a cardiac arrest. Same thing with the Buffalo Bills players. So,
yeah,
we have to ask questions. We have to research, and we have to keep this stuff in the public eye, and not just always accept the hearsay, the hearsay version of something. And it could be more to, like you say. I mean, you best summed it up. Like it could be something, with him, or it could be something else that we don't know about. But hopefully, we have the research to out, because there's a lot of things that's happening, more so with cardiac arrest, and another problem surfacing is blood clots. I've heard about more blood clots over the last 3 years than probably any other time I've been on earth. So those are the things that you really have to, young people. And, it ain't always good just to take the advice without question. So I know we live in a society where we say this and, okay, we take the expert word, but hey, man, sometimes you have to take it a little further and do some research. Get the truth.
Yeah.
Young man, I hope you make a full recovery. And that was shocking news, man. I was at work when I heard that.
So, I was too.
No.
Yeah. It was shocking news, man. I was at work and I saw it. I was like, man. And someone, I had somebody send it to me. Send it to my phone. I was like, yeah, it is shocking news. But yeah, I mean, people are going to ask the question, man. Like you say about the blood clots. Like I've been hearing more and more. I forgot it's a famous model. I think it was Tori Kelly. Something I heard she collapsed recently, and it was discovered she had blood clots. And I know she's like in her 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. I've been hearing it more and more and more and more. And people are going to continue to ask the question as these things continue to happen. You're talking about something that you really had no prior science on. You don't know the long-term effects. So I'm glad people are asking the question. It is what it is. So, but man, we appreciate you guys tuning in. See what Ness say. He said, Ness say, so before he's even had a physical exam, social media who are not doctors have went straight to the vaccine. Seriously, let's acknowledge that drugs of today are nothing close to drugs of yesteryears. You now have people choosing to take a deadly fentanyl on purpose. Yeah, and that's true too. I mean, you don't know exactly what it is. You don't know what Bronny James has been doing, or what he had going on. You don't. But I think it's fair to ask the question. I mean, it's what it is. I mean, we're talking about something that, we don't know. We don't know. And now as more information comes out, hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. So, but appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on all my social medias. Hit the like button, please. It's free. It brings engagement. Drop a like. Drop a comment, even if you're just saying what's up. Share it for me, if you will. Follow Mr. Reed on Twitter, and we will be back with more live streams next week. But until next time, talk to you guys later, man. Peace out, y'all.
Peace out. Football season is here.
Yes, football season is here.